why can't no be enough? Why do you always have to have a justification of why you don't want to do something? Why can't it literally just be because I don't want to? Why am I made to feel as if me saying no makes me the bad person, or me saying I don't want to is an insufficient enough reason? You know, I feel like life is short. We all have free will. And when I'm utilizing this free will, it's a problem now. And I think it's a valid question of why. I'm not even saying I've never asked a follow-up question like why. Especially when I was younger, if I wanted ice cream and I asked my mom, can I have ice cream? And she says no, I'm gonna be like, why? I think that is a innate human characteristics to be curious as to why. But I think it also comes to a certain point when you reach a level of maturity. It's like there's some things that you should, I feel like you should resist your natural human urge to ask why. I feel like there's some times where it's like you should just read the room because they said so. That's why. And me saying that is kind of funny and it's kind of full circle because I remember when I was younger, when an adult would tell me because I said so, that would bother me. But you know what? I mess with that now. I mess with that reasoning exactly because they said so. I think it bothered me because the adults, it was usually just them implementing their authority without any actual reason. Like they have this power over these children. Usually teachers have this control over these children and they're just implementing it just to implement it. They just didn't have a reason. You know what? I'm gonna take a play out of their book. It's because I said so. It's because I want to. It's because I don't want to. That's why. I hate feeling as if I need to change my reason, or I need to all of a sudden that I need to come up with some substantial reason that's going to be deemed as all right or acceptable in whoever I'm speaking to's eyes. An acceptable a reason enough to say no. I think it's different when you have a pre-existing obligation and you agree to this obligation and the roles or the tasks that you have to take on within this obligation. I'll use my own job. In my own job, I am a tutor, okay? I am there to help people. It is reasonable. There's reasonable things within that role that I accept. Within my own job, this is just an example, there are reasonable expectations and reasonable standards that I agree to, that I act upon because I knew exactly the role or what I'm getting myself into. But then when it comes to some things, that it's like I wasn't made aware that I would have this unspoken obligation, or I wasn't aware that this role would come with this. Like, you did not make it clear. I feel like it comes to a point in which it's a power imbalance. It comes to a point in which it's unfair and it's kind of pressuring in a way. It's like, no. When I initially got into this circumstance, when I initially took this on, I was never meant to be doing this task. Now, all of a sudden, it's being pushed upon me. Now, all of a sudden, I'm being made to feel like I'm selfish or I'm in the wrong for just simply not wanting to do something because it's not what I signed up for. It's not what I agreed to. And I don't even think that's a lack of laziness. Misspoke. I don't think it's a lack of worth ethic. I wholeheartedly believe with the term, in order to have a village, you need to be a villager. I wholeheartedly believe in the idea of community. But I feel like when it comes to community, it also comes with boundaries. Above all else, I believe in boundaries, and I have an issue when people push boundaries because usually those people in the situations I'm speaking about, those people, they like to disregard boundaries. They don't even care about the boundaries. They're basically seeing, you know, how much I can get out of you. What will this person accept? And what can I get out of how much they're willing to accept? I feel like that's how some people subconsciously or even consciously, like if they're real malicious with it, that's how some people behave. That's how some people truly act, and it bothers me. I wish the world was more forthcoming with their intentions. Instead of making it everybody else's problem that you have these preconceived notions, that you came into whatever relationship, whatever obligation, whatever agreement with these unspoken standards, instead of making it whoever's on the receiving end problem, why don't you just state it in the first place? Why don't you just make it clear before even coming into the situation that this is what I want, this is what I expect, this is what I expect from you, this is how I want you to proceed, and Yay or nay? Do you accept that or do you not? Instead of indirectly pushing whatever expectations, whatever standards you have for this person that you did not make clear initially, that you just think is unspoken and a part of your dynamic, pushing those dynamics onto a person. And when they have a little bit of pushback, you're like, why? Because I don't want to. Because I said so. So I've realized after I filmed this podcast episode that I feel like my message can be taken on in many sort of connotations. I just want to clarify, in my case, it was pertaining to more so familial, friendship, and group dynamics. That doesn't negate however anybody wants to resonate with the message. That's just how I was talking, because, my current situation was relating to that. And I just wanted to make that clarification. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, it's not that simple. There's uncertain things within, I guess, the complex relationships that we possess with each other as human beings. As somebody who just exists and has relationships with people, has to accept. And I don't like that, because if you get to not communicate clearly, when I decide to communicate and when I decide to express, I don't want to. I'm not messing with whatever expectations that you didn't properly express at the beginning, that I am not obligated to concede to. I am not obligated to go along with, just because now all of a sudden you want to implement them now. But I look like the bad person. I look selfish. But if anything, I think the person who's implementing these unspoken boundaries, when they didn't initially establish or communicate them in the beginning, is the selfish person. I don't think it's the person who decides to, take control of their own autonomy, who decides to not succumb to it just because that's what's societally acceptable. I hate the social politics behind it all. I hate that whenever you say no in situations like that, you have to give a roundabout reason that doesn't hurt their feelings and that comes across as valid enough to whoever you're communicating with that. You just can't say, because I don't want to, because this wasn't the initial thing that we agreed to. You can't just say that. And I have to get that off my chest. I have to get that off my chest because something I'm grappling with is people don't like to be as forthcoming with their intentions as I would like. And then when they have expectations or their expectations change within whatever relationship, they decide to move as if everybody's on board with that without seeking actual clarification or seeking actual confirmation that that is okay and everybody is in agreement to it. That's actually a pattern I'm spotting in past interactions I've had with people. I'm thinking about one of my bosses once upon a time. 100% that was an expectation. And this was a retail job. And it's also a pattern I'm starting to sense in a friendship that I have. Now I'm made to feel like, okay, it's either you express this, or if you do express it, I'm seen as crazy, or I seen as I think too much, or I think too hard about these things, And two things can be true. Maybe, yes, I am a little. Maybe I do think too hard, okay? Whatever. But that doesn't invalidate the way that you made me feel. That doesn't. It doesn't invalidate the fact that you didn't properly communicate your expectations with me, and that's not fair to me. And that's not right at all. And you can't just expect me to go along with that. I'm not that type of person. I hope I never will, I think there's a difference between making sacrifices for the people in your life or for roles that you have because of the fact that, that's just sometimes what you have to do. Sometimes life isn't fair. Then when people knowingly take advantage of your kindness or see how far they can get with taking advantage of your own time and your own kindness, because they know like they can just do that. They know that you won't do anything. You'll just go along. I don't like that. And now that I say it, this can apply to like multiple topics of life. This was a very impromptu podcast episode, but I just have never been a fan of the social politics of it, the unspoken expectations that are so prevalent. I've never been a fan of it, and I probably never will. I just think, nobody's perfect. Me, myself, maybe there's been times in my life where I've been on the end of imploring expectations onto somebody, onto a relationship in which this person didn't initially have this understanding that I would want this or that I felt this way. I've probably been on the other end of it. But now that I've realized, and I feel like I've put like a name on it, or I've kind of like conceptualized it, I'm gonna be a lot more cognizant of the way that I show up. I'm gonna be a lot more authoritative whenever I send somebody just trying to take my autonomy away. Whenever I send somebody just trying to push me to my limits, I'm gonna be a lot more outspoken when it comes to that, because I have no issues with making sacrifices as long as that expectation is clear within the relationship and it's been stated and I'm aware of that expectation. That's the issue. When there's a lack of awareness and when there's a lack of communication within it, that's what truly bothers me.